Hello guys, this is Ant and this is part 2 of my review of round 2 of the RaceTrackDesigns subreddit's 20k competition. Now if you haven't watched the first part already, please do that because I am not introducing what the competition is in this part. I'm just going to jump straight in. So yeah, let's jump straight in. And first we have Marty7's redesign of Istanbul Park. First Istanbul redesign from what I recall. So minor changes at T8. Increase to the radio to allow more speed, which is that the last part specifically? A little hard to tell. I'm not opposed to that too much, it's a minor change. Helps the flow, not specifically for F1, but I imagine with other series that race there, it'd be nice to just have that corner a bit more open. Same with... I don't even know which corner's which anymore, because he's changed them all. I mean, I should be looking at this map. Okay, so that's the new T8 that threw me off. Alright. And of course there's a lot more squared off here. No, yeah, that's fine. It doesn't, again, better for cars that don't really have the grip like F1 does. So I think that's a fine change. Then T13, the back straight kink there. Yeah, again, that's fine. T11 doesn't really do much anyway, except in the wet, so that's alright. And T15, which is that corner there. I'm not sure if that's better or not. Again, it's a little change, so it doesn't change much. But I don't know, something feels a tad odd about it. Like something about you don't have to commit quite the same line through T14. Go right up to the inside. I mean, I think you still would anyway, but I think it makes this bottom part maybe a bit weird. I don't know. Would have to drive it to know for sure. DRS zone added there. Okay, it's more to get the cars closer, but again, I think that's alright. Backstar right. T9 is now decreasing radius, so he's basically flipped the corner. Again, I'm not sure if it's better, but that would be a very interesting corner because you're rising up the hill as well there. Would be rather interesting, really. Again, not sure if it's an improvement, but like most of these changes, I think it's alright. They don't make anything really noticeably worse. Trying to think, would it be really nasty getting on the throttle here because of the elevation? I think braking might actually not be as bad because it is uphill. I think it wouldn't be as easy to lock a brake there. Like if this braking zone was downhill, it'd be very easy, but it's benefited somewhat by the rise. To make it more of a challenge, yeah, that's alright. Then Sector 1 is completely changed. Now this part, I'm not feeling it here. I think the T1 change here and then this here that's not bad on its own. I would have T1 opened up a bit more. Like, more like the original T1. Because this is somewhat of a bottleneck. It's a bit too tight for turn 1 apex. So this concept on its own isn't horrific, but I think it releases you way too close to turn 3, and which maybe would be alright, but this is very much a run-liner, sort of Degner-esque corner, which I don't think works here, really. I mean, it might drive fine, but it just feels awkward, and it's not a change that needs to exist at all. Original T3 does the job fine, and does it better than this. And especially since it's near the start of the lap and cars will still be too wide, this isn't really a section you see cars going too wide there, so... Yeah. I don't really like the first exit changes, but from here on, it's alright. Doesn't set the world ablaze, but... I think it's just marginal improvements. Potential improvements all the way around. Pukiminino. Okay. Now this is a certified shitpost. We love Pocono, don't we, folks? Place the oval of an actual oval. I hope the law is that they didn't just build it, they actually just completely uprooted and airlifted Pocono all the way across the Atlantic, all the way across Europe, all the way across the Middle East, and just planted it right here. Don't know why all the grasses and the grasses all died too and being blown over by sand. That's why there's no longer any green. As for the layout itself, the layout you've outlined, it's a downgrade. Really. I understand you have to make the changes here to make it flow a bit better. Not just to make it flow a bit better, I'm saying the wrong fucking phrase. No, because having the hairpin like that, that's just real awkward with the banking. So you have to come out. So you have to move it a bit further forward and change it up. I feel like this bit should be more open. It is the first lap after all. This section, which is just the transplant and outer section, I hope the law for that's the same story, but with airlifting the oval across. But I think that's fine to drive, but especially when you're throwing in all this tight and somewhat twisty stuff, I think you're going overboard a bit with this. And here I feel like it's a corner that can be refined. Like, just really shortcut it. I think that's what I do. Really, the layout where you bypass this whole infill section and come to a hairpin there, this bit's a bit more awkward, but I think it's overall better than this. And then this turns weird because you've had to kill it pretty much. I know runoff would be a bit dodgy there, but I'm not sure why you couldn't have just ran it onto the back straight. Like, that's what I would have done. This section, again, is, like, too tight, really. Like, this right-hand hairpin feels very awkward mainly because of this left-hand following it, but once you get past that, that's a fairly nice final corner. Now, in fairness, I may have had some influence with this hairpin. I didn't like this concept in the first place, but I did do a sketch using said concept, which I'm not sure if it influenced it or not, and if it did, I'm not sure how much I can really hold it against you. But yeah, personally, I would have just had this corner earlier. Yeah. Overall, it's not great, but it's a shitpost, so it's alright. We know not to take this entry seriously. So all criticism against it means nothing. And then Foxtrot's redesign of Buddh. Ooh. I've been assuming all these are F1 designs, but this one's actually MotoGP. So turn 3 added a long lap. And he's changed this section here. I mean, that's fair. For motorbikes, it could be... It's hard to tell whether it flows really well or it slows you down just a tad too much, and the braking into T6 especially is just awkward. But no, I like this hairpin. Runoffs may be a little... Maybe I'm not sure if there's enough runoff there. Maybe you need the hairpin a tad more forward. But as for the hairpin concept itself, I like it. I like it especially since it doesn't quite connect back onto the what would be the main F1 layout. You've got a couple of meandering kinks that I think flow very well into this chicane section especially. I think that this whole section works pretty well. And then that's all it really, except this corner looks more open, which I do agree with. So yeah, simple change. They're not the first design that's not F1 focused, so it makes it a little hard to compare. But overall, yeah, I do like it. Maybe what I would have done is not followed the original motorcycle alt routes so much and just redesigned the complex in general. Like, I can see myself going for, like, a corner somewhat like this here. But of course, the hairpin doesn't last for nearly as long. It's more like a 90 and then opens out. Though I'm not sure what to do afterwards because I don't think I'd be able to follow it up quite with this section. And here, I don't think you can really do much with a motorbike layout to keep the runoff there. We'll try and find the fiddly map again. No, I don't want to do that. Bloody froze for a minute. No, there's not much you can really do there. I'd be tempted to have this exit slightly a bit more and then have it connect more to this kink there, but again, you may not be able to do that because of runoff. So, yeah, I like this. It's simple, but it doesn't do anything wrong. And arguably, it's even an improvement, which I think for a lot of these tracks, it's rather difficult to do. Now we are on to Versigot's Fuji Speedway. Why on earth would you voluntarily choose to model a corner after Sochi T2? That's a very weird choice to me. I mean, it's not necessarily a horrific corner, but it's very much a run liner. And admittedly, it works better here than on Sochi because it's in a turn 1, an opening complex, but I don't really gel with this. Now, in fairness, this was a complex that did exist on Fuji at one stage, as you can see here, though not as exaggerated. I'm not sure why you really would need to slow this section down. Maybe the exit could be a bit more satisfying, but I don't feel like that's a change you really need to do. As for the hairpin, again, you don't really need to change it here, I don't think. Found that out a bit more, probably flows a tad better. maybe, but after that it's kind of just a meander, and I don't see why you can't just follow the kinks there. I think they're a bit more satisfying to drive than just the flat right-handed there. Though it does make heading into this corner here a bit, into Dunlop there, a bit more interesting. I think I definitely would like driving that more than what's currently there. And another one who's made the double apex at the last corner of Fuji. I wonder who did that first. Certainly, if you've watched part 1, you know my thoughts on this double apex, so I don't really need to repeat them in any detail other than I like it. So, overall, I'm not a fan of the change here. I'm iffy about this one. Maybe I can reconsider like driving the 90s version of Fuji and seeing how that feels. If I'm alright with that. Don't like this bit. I like this and this. So not bad. Could be worse. What is... This is an odd one. T-Burn 21. Man's just decided to cull the Shanghai signature section and drop off a cliff. Honestly, literally. I mean that literally, because if you see, like, the descent between this part and this part of the circuit, it's pretty dramatic. It's probably fine, but this would be a rather interesting downhill section, actually. I mean, could be more interesting, of course, but I won't say that's a bad thing. I actually like this a lot, honestly. I don't think I'd have the walls cut in so severely here, and maybe I'd have this tightened a tad more, but this is hardly bad, honestly. I think it works rather well. Maybe I'll have this hairpin a bit further out onto going to the original as well. Just so it flows a bit better. Why? You admit in your explanation that this is bad. Why would you add it? I mean, you can go safety herder, but what? But that doesn't make sense because you've brought in the hairpin here, presumably for the same reason. Or at least in parts. So why can't you just, I don't know, make this a decreasing radius hairpin, like turn in just before where the chicane starts, have the proper apex here? Why can't you just do that? Then I would somewhat bypass the original chicane there, just make it faster. But that's what's originally there, so yeah, whatever. Then follows the original circuit up to here. We've just decided to kill a kart track, cool. Assume that's what you mean by T11? Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a passing spawn in the first place, just because the preceding net is too short. Not to mention this whole section is just dirty air hell. You're not going to be able to really close into anyone here. Now, I don't like the exit of this hairpin, it just feels bland, like you want to make it a bit more flashy. Have the course curve slightly through here, open up the hairpin. I think as is, I don't really gel with it. This right-hander's fine. This could be an interesting braking zone, but you've made it too slow. I wouldn't do a chicane in the first place, honestly. I'd be tempted to just have this a bit big, long right-hander, if I can justify safety-wise. But this concept here, it's not inherently bad, but I think you've made it a bit too tight there. Like, you need to have this part needs to be sooner, turns less, and then this part needs to be a lot more open and maybe curving all the way out through here before it reconnects here. And now I don't. Again, this section here, that's not an inherently bad complex at all. I want you to use this sort of thing on another layout, but here, I don't think it's not necessary. You don't need it really. You don't need these corners here at all. Sure, skipping them makes this happen a lot less interesting, but then you just pull it out here, have this right kink on exit. The straight here, that's 800 meters, and the run here would make it a bit longer, so maybe it's not completely getting in the way of overtaking, but it could definitely compromise it a bit more. Just bypassing this having the hairpin down here is definitely better, racing-wise, than this. And even if you want to keep that there, you need this first part of the chicane a bit more open. Yeah. Well, so yeah, that's fair. They can be, in fairness, they can feel a bit tedious to drive, but they are the track's signature components, so I'd be hesitant really changing them, regardless of how I feel on them. Changes at a new interesting race. Maybe they are new. Maybe they are interesting. That's not to say that's a good thing at all. Is the point finishing lap? Yeah, alright. I won't contend that it's not boring, but it does a job and it does it well at least. Here I'm not so sure. I think this is just flat out wrong, really. But alright. Yeah, not a fan of this one. Now we move on to another career by Muster. I think you're compromising runoff a bit at this hairpin there. I would have it earlier. More like the original, perhaps. Smoother, at least, I will give you that, but I think you haven't given it enough runoff at all. Like, if someone clips the rear wheel coming into this braking zone, it's just they are going into that wall hard. But there's not much to slow them down at all. And this T3 change, I believe I've been suggesting someone like that before. Yes, I'm a fan of that. I'm not sure if I do it exactly like this, but this is fine as well, I think. Do you tend to flow better? Yeah, you're right. That's good flow right there. And connects to this. I keep on forgetting which corner that is. T11. Flows into T11 quite well too. And then a very heavily changed section here. Let's start with this hairpin is kind of there. It's really serves one purpose, and that's just to get you away from this straight, which is alright. I think it flows relatively fine. But then following up with this very tight hairpin, I don't gel with that. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do at this point, but I don't want to have another slow corner preceding it so soon. Maybe I chuck in a sort of S section here and reconnect here. I'm not sure, I need to play around with that. But as for that hairpin there, at least it does connect nicely onto this fairly easy right-hander. And connects well into this left here. And finishes the other out nicely. Not sure how I feel about this chicane as well, but it's not loud, and I think it's fine. We'll call it a touring car chicane. That justifies its existence, does it not? This bit's weird as well, but I'm gonna be a bit lazy with it because it's an alternate layout and I won't look into it too much. Same goes to this one. This is fine as well. You can do better, but it's fine. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and allow it to be a bit janky. So overall, runoff here is a bit too lacking. And I'm not so sure about the addition of this hairpin there. I feel like you need to connect this corner here and this corner here with something different. But other than that, pretty good. I like it. On to another Fuji redesign. Again, going with the fairly common opinion that Sector 3 it doesn't suit Fuji at all. So, again, on an F1 focus, this one is World Endurance Championship, so prototypes and GTs. T2 kink has been eliminated. I would open this first bit of the hairpin slightly, but other than that, that's fine. You need to adjust runoff from the exit as well. It looks a bit limiting there. But it's not the end of the world because it's fairly slow there anyway. It's more so that if a car does go off there, they can actually recover it and it's not as much damage and you don't have to slow down. You don't have to pull out a safety car or whatever and stop the running of a race. That, no changes except when you get the Dunlop. Yummy. I like this. I very much do like this. This long right-hander would be very interesting because you're climbing all the time, I think. Finding the right line here would be quite a challenge. So Dunlop here, that's definitely an overtaking. That might be an overtaking zone now. Maybe a bit iffy, but I think I'm forgetting this is F1. This doesn't change my other force, but overtaking would be possible here with the other categories. I am a fan of this one overall. Very simple changes you've made, but they're the only changes that actually need to be made on the circuit, I would say, and they work so good. Who's that? Sheeple. Good job, Sheeple. Good work. And this one is maxx-usa's coda. Wider T1. I agree. Especially on the first lap scenario. That's an improvement. And also the pit lane's exit's been moved to T2, which is an interesting choice. I won't call it bad. Not sure if it's an improvement. I think I almost prefer it there, honestly. Like, the original pit lane just doesn't do anything really wrong, except maybe it exits the cars a bit too close to T1. But I don't know, there's something about this exit that I'm feeling it just looks satisfying, really. Even if it doesn't really change a whole lot. And then the rest looks like simplifications, fairly basic ones. bypass the S's here. That's alright. Almost makes this section feel a bit empty, like I feel like I want to do something a tad more than just this kink heading into the hairpin there. But it doesn't necessarily need anything else there either. And then bypass the stadium section. I don't like this hairpin here. It feels flat. Feels very uninteresting. I mean, it's the same with the original hairpin there, but at least that leads into something else fairly quickly. This doesn't, and it feels a bit stale. I'm sure it works fine, but feels boring almost. I don't really gel with it there. I'd want to do something a bit more to make it more interesting. And then T14 is faster. Yeah, that's fine. That change is fine. I think it makes it a bit more enjoyable. So nothing's really done poorly here, but I don't know. I feel like you're removing a bit too much. You need a bit more spice to add to this, perhaps. I'm going to be back in a minute and contemplate my life choices. I have regrets. And I hope this person in time has more regrets than I do. So that's bduddies. I won't call T1 not interesting, but in fairness, I don't feel like it's a great turn 1 just because of how tight it is. And how fast it is as well, actually. It's a slight bottleneck. At least you've got the tarmac runoff on the exit, but I feel like you shouldn't be aiming to rely on that. But that said, this chicane doesn't really do much better. I believe it's worse for an opening lap. Because again, it's a one-liner sort of affair, and it's easy for cars to... On a section like this, I feel like it would be easy for drivers to cut across someone else's line and cause an accident. And especially since it doesn't look like you've adjusted the runoff up here, I think that could cause issues. Mind you, I won't say it's not more interesting to drive than the original T1, but it doesn't work. You say it helps set up overtakes as well, but the original turn there does that just fine as well, so don't think you can really justify that change. And then I won't call this a bad section, but why? That's not a necessary change. That corner's fine. I think that's my thoughts on this track in general. Like, yeah, I was bashing it down a bit earlier. I think most, if not most concepts here I think they're alright. I think they're fine. But to completely bulldoze a track with these concepts like you've done here, I think it feels like sacrilege. Like, use all these concepts elsewhere, but do not plop them on another track like this, because it ruins it. Like, legit, if you have this whole back half, change this first half off slightly so it doesn't look like the A1 ring. Or whatever the hell you want to call it. It'd be decent. I don't think it'd be anything spectacular, but it'd work. But to put it on the Red Bull Ring, which is a very solid track as is, and you can't really change much about it, it's hard to like it. So after that escapade, let's come back to here. Venice would be interesting. Downhill, fairly steep decreasing radius. That would be very difficult. And I think it connects up to this kink nicely. This doesn't need to be as slow as it is. Again, you're saying this is changes only made because you made a change here and you want to compensate for it, so... I don't understand this. I mean... maybe you can justify saying this bit feels samey, but I don't think so. But how does this long left-hander here not feel samey as well? I mean, sure, this is different, but after that, this is very easy. Like, it's... maybe coming back into here would be a bit difficult, but... I'm not 100% sure what makes the original section samey, but this section not so much. I don't get it here. Now this hairpin, unfortunately, it does kill, I think, one... well, I was going to say one of the best. Pretty much all the corners at RB are good. But no, this fast downhill, you're kind of killing that with a hairpin and that doesn't feel right. Maybe that's in general what you're doing wrong here. You're killing all the hero corners. Like you're adding challenging sections as well, but they're not really hero corners, if you know what I mean. Like, these push you to the absolute limit, but they're not spectacular. Like, they're not fast and whatnot. Again, this isn't bad, but what you're replacing it with, it's kind of... yeah. It would be an interesting downhill run if it's easy, but it'd still be satisfying, I reckon. So overall, I'll go over a bit of a hot take here. The concepts you have used here, they are mostly good. Your execution of these concepts here, they're horrible because of what they replace. Like, put all of these, pretty, as I said, this second half exactly as it was on another layout. It's probably alright. It'd work. I don't think it'd be overwhelmingly spectacular, but it'll work and it'd do the job. I don't think you'd have many complaints. But to put them on top of an original circuit like this and like completely ruin some no-revy sections, you can't do shit like this. It's not good, really. So off to Shanghai again. What changes have you made? Runoff change. Which one is T5? That one. Yeah, alright, fine. It's a runoff change. I won't look into it too much. This here is a downgrade because of how bloody tight the hairpin is. Yeah, and it's just saying I didn't like it, which is alright, I guess, but what you've replaced it with is worse. Just because of how tight and slow it is, it feels extremely awkward. It doesn't achieve anything at all. At least those corners would be satisfying to get, right? The original. This is worse. This is just worse. It's slow and awkward and no flow to it. T11's a bit tighter. I think I would have left it as is. I don't mind opening up T12 though. That's fine, but T11 probably should be left as is. Change the straight here to make it a bit smaller. Alright. Again, I think I'd leave the straight as is, but shortening the straight here could be compromising overtaking, but I think the straight there's so long that I think you can get away with cutting off 100 or 200 meters. Worst comes to worst, you just make the DRS zone a bit longer. So I think that's alright. I don't like this last corner. It's not bad, but it's just boring. It only serves one purpose, and that's to connect you from the final hairpin to the pit straight. It does nothing more. It doesn't stand out or anything. What I'd do in place, I don't know. I wouldn't keep the original corner there anymore because the straight's shorter, so it's not as interesting. But maybe I go with all of the same concept, but later, and instead have a right king connect to the start-finish line. So minor changes overall on this one. Only one I really like is the T12 change here. Other than that, and the runoff change up here, that's kind of there. It's probably better. It doesn't make a difference to me, so yeah. This one's alright. This isn't good. This is not good. This is horrific. Yeah. That's invalid 404s. Not gelling with that one. Another Istanbul's redesigned by Toby. I'm not pronouncing all of that. T2 extended to form a T5 for better overtaking. Yeah, I can see that. I don't think I want to replace this section, but this... Maybe I reroute the curve here a little bit, but this isn't horrific as well, I don't think. Let's see if the S-pencils and variants. I'm not sure if that fits. Istanbul. I like it, but I'm not sure if it fits here. It's definitely a concept you can just copy and paste elsewhere and it'll work fine. But its placement here just feels weird. I think mostly because of the following straight. Like, I don't want to end this bit off of a straight. As long I want to curve back to the left, or I want, curve it to the left slightly, then do something other than that. I still have a straight, could have a straight there, but I want a bit more meandering. I don't want to end the section right there. And then reprofile 12, 13 into the hairpin, which it already was, so... But I don't mind the change here. making this right-hander more open, but I'd almost say you haven't gone far enough. Like, I almost want to be so open it goes onto the pit entry here, and then the last corner is here. Not sure what you do with the pit lane after that, but... Excuse me. But yeah, I think actually going full Ooga Booga, really dedicating yourself to this concept here, I think benefits you more than anything. So overall, strange changes. I'm not sure if I like them, but I'd hardly call them bad. I think the concepts work, but I feel like putting them in place here specifically, maybe it is just because it's something different. I don't know. And it feels a bit... something's off here. I can't quite put my finger on it. But I do reiterate, use these concepts elsewhere. They work. Then there's Phil's Korea International Circuit. Seeing a lot of careers. T1 change, that's an improvement. I think that's the direction you want to go with T1 in general. 3-7 stadium section. I'm not sure if I'm filling with that hairpin here or this king there. I want both opened up. Put some camber in this right-hander. I agree with that. I'm trying to visualize here. I want this king opened up. I think I don't mind the decreasing 88 corner, but I want it a bit more opened as well. Just flows a bit nicely. Feels probably be a bit less awkward that way. Then T8 hairpin brought forward. For safety reasons, that's fine. T9 and 10 opened up. I like that. I feel like I'd open them up a bit more. I'm not sure if this exactly is the flow you want to be getting out of it. But again, it's something you need to drive and refine to know for sure. But yeah, I'm not 100% if the concept is right. But I'm not sure if the corners are actually in the right places they need to be here. Then T14 open up for better flow. Yes, I agree with that. Flowing through there. Does that corner come up a bit soon? No, it doesn't go for as long. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I think it might just flow fine, but you've been practically going through S's ever since here, so I feel like that might just carry on for a bit too long. And this section here is bypassed. Then you go under the certified dildo hotel. Into this T19 to 21 section. Again, I think this is fine. I like that actually, yeah. It's nice flow. Looks a bit weird, but I think that's just me. If anything, I think the big problem with this section is not the section itself, but what precedes it. Because that's got to be 10. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 corners of S's preceding it, and I think that's a bit overkill. It feels like you need a bit more of a break there before you can properly justify this section. But I would certainly keep this. I'm not sure what change I'd do specifically. Maybe it's hard to tell. Maybe here, or maybe here. I don't know. I like this double apex here on the original layout, but maybe that has to go here to justify this. Hard to tell. Overall, yeah, there's some bits I'm feeling iffy of, but overall I like this. VollzeitSchwabe, Hockenheimring. I'm not going to say it. Oh, and this is actually Musters, so overall, so this is a collab effort. Good to know. So changes start at T2 here again. I would change T1, but I won't hold you against it here because that's how it is on the actual layout. Tasty. That's some nice slow there. Didn't realize the fucking Miami yacht pond. Okay. Definitely some shit postery in the presentation. I wonder what this translates to now. I guess I have to find out, don't I? Go to German. This is gonna be slow actually. No. Oh no, I've made an error. Where am I? Oh, is that really it? Okay. Okay, penultimate design, didn't even realize. So I forgot I could do that for a moment. Ah. This could be yours. Epic Hispania reference. Alright, so as for the layout itself, again, who was the other person who did the Hockenheim redesign? Tiger, alright. You've done what he did and then added an actual chicane bypass there. And that's what you need to do there, I think. I still think it'd be better going yee-haw, sending it into the motordrome, but I can see why that chicane might need to be there as well. If anything, I'm a tad annoyed it doesn't connect up to this alt layout here, but then it does connect to another one there, so that's alright. I love that infield section. It connects so bloody well. And I can tell with the Yacht Marina and This Could Be You and the Amogus that you had a ball designing this, and I commend you for that. I pat yourself on the back here. This is good. Again, only nitpick I have is of course not changing T1 and not having the main layout bypass the motordrome, but for safety reasons you might not be able to do that. And this was here in the first place, so pretty good. I enjoy this one. And then, of course, the last one by Cyclone, which this isn't Circuit of the Americas anymore. This is the Austin, Texas Optimized Circuit. ATOC. Fucking whack name, eh? Only now realized it was a reverse of Coda. So, alright. So, another reversed Coda design. Tier 1 looks a bit funky. I'd have the initial apex opened up a bit more, I think. But overall, that's fine. And then turn 2 connects onto oval. The certified Raise Hell Praise Dale corner. Then that heads onto the stadium section here. You actually decided to keep, which is interesting. Oh shit, that's fucking 20 degrees as well. And it's right off on the exit on the oval, okay. I'm sure a couple of you have seen the Circuit de Homestead Miami NR 2003 shit post. I'm gonna assume that was the inspiration for this. Well, I don't know, you could have concocted it up yourself, really. Some minds here work fucking insanely, I don't doubt it. But yeah, interesting choice to keep the stadium section. I think it works alright. Maybe this hairpin feels a bit sanitized, but you're aware of this and you've at least added a kink. I feel like it might be better just to do a bit more here. But I can at least see you've recognized that the original hairpin would have been a bit too stale there. T10 opened up. I agree with this choice, I like it. And the S's stay the same, which is interesting choice. Could be weird to drive, because of course a section like this, it's well, racetracks in general, they're really only designed to be ran runway. But this specifically, which is absolutely pinpoint on, it's designed all around run line. If you're not on that line, this section's going to be hell for you. So do it in reverse is going to be weird. But, you know, I think it just about works. I would do some slight changes here. Like open out this corner a bit more. Maybe account for the extra speed you're taking in here. Or maybe you don't even need to. I don't know, I feel like I'd be tempted to open out these S's a bit more. But maybe that's not necessary. And then hairpin here is open out and made slightly less pointed. The presentation may be playing tricks on me here because it looks more pointy. I'm comparing this. There's no way that is less pointy. You should be ashamed of yourself. You liar. But yeah, overall, interesting changes. I like them overall. I enjoy this. Well, reverse design is actually fairly simple and sticks to the visual layout pretty well. So, yeah. It's hard to tell if it'd be an improvement on the original layout because so much has changed, but I don't think I would complain too much if this was what Austin somehow became. So, yeah. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and I look forward to seeing you next time for round 3, which is Club Circuit. So that should be a real joy. So yeah, see ya.